Okay, before you start bashing me in the comments for making a video about how to try hard in the for fun game mode of Arena, there is this token in League called Adapt to All Situations, where you have to win first on different champions, and that is the sole reason I am making this video. Now, if you just looked at the thumbnail, you probably would have realized that, but anyways, here are some timestamps, please sub and like, and let's go! My first and number one tip is don't be toxic in Arena. I know that sometimes your teammate might be bad, like this person who decided to go full crit on Lulu and still dealing half my damage, but ultimately it's not really worth being toxic when you only have one teammate and dragging down the mental of your teammate. And honestly, this probably extends also to Summoner's Rift, where you just shouldn't be toxic in general, but especially in Arena where you only have one teammate to rely on, it is just a bad idea to be toxic to them. Sometimes you should give them criticism, sometimes you should ask them for help, sometimes you should tell them what to do, but being toxic at the end of the day is never going to be productive. My second tip is to save your money. Now, the simplified version of this is if you at least kill one opponent in 6 out of your 8 first rounds in the arena game, you will be able to purchase another prismatic item. Now, for non-rollers and rollers, this number is a bit different. If you want to roll your items, if you're a character that likes to roll your items, this means that you can actually do it at round 6 as long as you kill all your opponents. But for non-rollers, it's 8 rounds, and you have to at least kill one opponent in 6 out of the 8 rounds that you play. Now, this strategy is generally quite good as long as your character has the ability to at least kill one opponent in the majority of your rounds, but I can understand that some characters just simply can't do it, which is completely fine because ultimately you will still be able to get your normal items. Now, if you want to skip to the next section, then go ahead, but if you want to hear the breakdown of this entire thing, then stay with me here. The magic number that you want to know is 1,750. Now, on round 2, after your first combat, you get 250 gold. On round 3, you get 500. Round 4, you have 750, where you get a gold injection of 2,500. Now, if you want to roll your items, if you're a character that likes to roll your items, you will have subtracted 2,000 gold from your balance, which ultimately means that you will have 1,250 remaining. Non-rollers will have only 750 remaining, which is completely fine. Now, round 5, the rollers will have 1,500. The non-rollers will have 1,000. And round 6 is where you get another gold injection, where non-rollers will have ended up with 1,250. And then you add another 2,250 on top of that, and you subtract 2,500 from that, meaning that you ultimately end up with 1,000. Rollers will have enough to buy a prismatic item, because if you kill all of your opponents up until this point, you will have ended up with 1,750. Added on to another 2,250 means that you have 4,000 gold, meaning that you get another prismatic item pretty early. But generally, this is only really good if your character doesn't actually care that much about what specific items you like. And this usually means assassins, because assassins can be very diverse with what items they purchase. And yeah. Now, from this point on, I will only be talking about non-rollers. Now, by round 7, you will have another gold injection of 500. This is something that a lot of people don't know. On Anvil rounds, you will actually get another 500 gold, meaning that by the end of it, you will have ended up with 1,750. This means that the next 2 combats don't matter, because by the end of round 9, you will have a gold injection of another 2,250, meaning that you will have 4,000 gold, meaning you will have enough for another prismatic item. Now, I don't know why you wouldn't go for this strategy if you think that your comp can do this, but this is generally just how the math works. Now, if you win these 2 rounds, then you will have another 500 gold after round 9, but that doesn't really matter. Now, any other character you can kind of just generally apply the concepts for, but it is going to be a bit different because round 4 is the only gold injection round where you get 2,500 gold instead of 2,250. So keep that in mind. Everything else, it is going to be the same. And with that, let's move on to the next tip. Now, the next tip I want to give is about roles. What the hell do you actually do with these things? Realistically, roles are very diverse and versatile in each game, and they have very different functions in each game. Because a person can get lucky, a person can get unlucky to the point where it's just very hard to generalize about roles. But the general rule of thumb that I personally follow is settle for silver, 1 for gold, 2 for prismatics. It's very self-explanatory. You should generally try to settle for silver because they'll have the least impact in the game. You should use one roll for gold because they'll have a generally medium impact in the game. And you should use two for prismatics, whether that be an item or an augment, because they'll have by far the most impact in the game. Now, this is not always true because for certain characters like Brand who love magic missile, you can use two rolls for gold in order to roll a much, much better augment than anything else you could realistically get. So that's what I mean by the versatility and diversity of the rolls. Just try to look at your own situation and each different game and decide what you want to do with these things.
Oh, yes, Daddy.
Finally, some rapid fire miscellaneous tips before I get to the good stuff. Number one, damage items first round as a tank is very valuable. It'll help you a lot in the early game. Number two, Mercs is very valuable. Tenacity and MR are both insane stats. It's very overpowered. Number three, Blade Waltz is very overlooked. It gives you invulnerability and a ton of damage. Only take it on assassins though. Number four, Chem Tank is probably the worst goddamn item in this goddamn game. I don't know why it's a prismatic. I don't know why it exists. It's just so bad. Number five, support characters, especially Sona and Nami, are often very underrated. They seem very one-shottable or just very underpowered, but they are actually very overpowered. Number six, try to have some synergy with your teammate. You have one other guy that's helping you in this game. Try to have some synergy with them. Number seven, there are a lot of scaling items in this game, augments or items. Ultimately, if you take something that's very good for you and it doesn't have an immediate effect, don't worry. Sometimes it just takes some time to scale, especially for stuff like Eureka or even stuff like Dragonheart. You must realize that sometimes it takes a bit of time, and that's okay. Finally, the most fun way to have fun in Arena, which is off-meta builds. My personal favorite is Attack Speed Blitzcrank. Fulmination is probably going to be the best in slot, but stuff like Hamstringer or Decapitator or even Gale Force can all work. Then you want to go something like Bork if you want damage, or Navori if you want to knock your opponents up constantly. Then you want to go end up with something like Infinity Edge or Gwynsu's or Kraken Slayer. All of these items are good. Ultimately, you're just going to be building like a typical ADC would. And I think the best prismatic augment that you can get is probably going to be Mystic Punch because you're just going to be able to knock them up so many goddamn times and you're going to be able to have 100% uptime on your attack speed, which is very, very nice. Then, I think another build which is really fun is Lethality Illaoi. It's very self-explanatory. Basically, you just build her like an assassin. Duskblade is probably best in slot, but I'm not 100% sure. Prowlers and Flesh Eater are also good. Then you want to go into typical assassin items, which is just like, you know, really any assassin item is probably going to be fine, but I think the first item that you want to get is going to be Eclipse. Lastly, lethality on many fighter champions is going to be very fun because ultimately bigger damage equals better number, and also a lot of fighter champions have stuns, which means that you're going to be able to CC them while doing a ton of damage. My personal favorite is probably lethality Vi, but Bork Renekton is also extremely fun, and ultimately stuff like Lethality Darius is going to be very, very good, even though the fighter variations of them is probably going to be better. And finally, I just wanted to say thank you so much for watching this video if you did, and please follow my Twitch. I'm going to be streaming there pretty much daily, and look out for more videos like this. I am going to do a lot of variety, not just League, going into stuff like Terraria, Dota, Minecraft, everything. So yeah, thank you so much for watching.